Hi, everybody. Thank you all for joining me today. I'm so excited that you're here. We have another great webinar for you. Hopefully, you will find this useful, find some good information that you can actually use right away. So a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. I want to let you know that, first of all, we're in webinar mode, and that means that I cannot see you or hear you. Your cameras are off, your microphones are off. So if you have anything to say, please put your comments and questions in the chat box. That's the easiest way for me to be able to see your questions and run the slides and do everything I need to do during this session. So questions and comments in the chat box. Feel free, if you guys are talking in the chat box and someone has a question that you know the answer to, that's fine with me. I love that. I love it when people are helping each other out. The other thing I want to let you know is, yes, this is being recorded. And after the webinar is finished, you should receive an email, so like later on today, with a link to the recording and a copy of the slides. And if you don't get that, of course, you can always go to our YouTube channel. All of the webinars go to the YouTube channel when we're finished. So you can look it up there. Just go to YouTube and look up Consolidated Planning Group. You should see our purple and gray circle logo, and that will help you know that you're in the right spot. So for today, like I said, we should be here for about an hour, and I can't see you or hear you. So enjoy your lunch, enjoy your snacks, and put any comments and questions in the chat box. So who are we? Why should you listen to us? I'm Michelle Morris with Consolidated Planning Group. We are a holistic special needs planning firm. First of all, we are financial advisors. We help families with all of the same things that any traditional financial advisor would do, like securities and investments and life insurance and estate planning and retirement planning, all of that stuff. But we focus on serving the special needs community. And it's not, excuse me, it's not something that we do just once in a while or on the side. This is our entire business. About 95% of our clients have kiddos with some sort of intellectual or developmental disability. So this is truly, what we do every single day. We have over 30 years of experience in financial services. We have awards to prove it. We are members of the Special Needs Planning Academy, and we're also nationally certified Social Security advisors. And I haven't revised the slides yet, but I recently earned my Chartered Special Needs Consultant designation through the American College of Financial Services. So we do have a Chartered Special Needs Consultant on staff now, and that's me. The reason we do this, the owner of our company, she and her husband have 4 kids altogether, and 2 of them have disabilities. So that's why our company really focuses on this. I used to be a teacher and working in the schools. Of course, I worked with kids with disabilities. Myself and my husband are parents. Allison and Jeff are parents. So we have all been there where you are in some way or another. So I do see some questions are starting to come into the chat box and maybe some spam. I'll get to as many of your questions as I possibly can. If not, no worries, because we offer a free consultation for you where you can have a Zoom meeting with me or Allison or Andy, my husband, and talk to the financial advisors of Consolidated Planning Group to get your answers. So when families come to us, they come to us for things like protection plans for their family, life insurance, disability protection, income protection. We think about things like, what happens if the main breadwinner in your family is not able to work, whether that be because of a short-term disability or they pass away early or they become disabled completely and can't work ever again, that could really throw a major wrench in your financial life. We talk about lifetime care needs for your loved one. If they're not going to be able to work or be completely independent, they're probably going to need some form of lifetime care, and you're going to be the one paying for that. So we need to think about how that will look for your family and plan ahead for that. Of course, we do a lot of talk around transition planning, that time when your child turns 18 and all of a sudden, in the eyes of the law, they're an adult. That's one big transition period. And then the other period is when they finish high school and they come out into the real world. You don't want them to graduate just onto your couch. So there's some planning that goes on there. And then the final transition comes when they're looking at moving from your home to a residential community or a group home of some kind. So there's a lot of planning that needs to be done around those circumstances. Of course, we help with ABLE accounts. We help you understand the state and federal benefits that are available to you. We're going to talk about those a lot today. We'll help you understand what to do with your special needs trust and the waiver programs and all of those things. And like I said, we're here to advocate for you and to educate you. There are over 263,000 financial advisors across the United States. And out of those 263,000 financial advisors in the US, fewer than 200 of them focus on special needs planning like we do. And that's not 200,000, just 200. That equals out to be less than 0.1% of all of the financial advisors in the United States that focus on special needs planning. So you're truly in the right place with us at Consolidated Planning Group. And lucky for you, we work all across the United States. We are based just outside of Houston in the Sugar Land area. Of course, we work all over Texas, but we've also been expanding to many other states. And as we acquire clients in new states, it's easy for us to get licensed there to be able to serve you. So don't fear if you're in another state other than Texas. Now today, the waiver programs, those are based in Texas. Those are statewide programs. So they're specific to whatever state you live in. Some states, like Texas, have very long waiting lists, and other states have no waiting list at all, or they only have to wait 2 to 5 years or something like that. So if you're in a different state, some of the stuff I'm going to talk about will not apply to you today, but other things like SSI benefits and other ways to preserve your child's eligibility for their benefits, some of those things will apply to every state. So don't feel like you're not welcome here if you're not from Texas. All right, so if you've seen some of my webinars before, if you've seen me host, you know that what I typically do is I'll go through several slides and then I'll pause and answer several questions, or I'll let you know I'm about to get to that. And then we'll go back and forth, kind of some slides and then some questions. And I do see the first question there is someone who might need to leave early. So I'm going to make sure I answer that. I have to leave in 30 minutes, but I have a question. Let's just jump into it. My son just turned 18 last Tuesday. We have an appointment to apply for benefits. I hope you're talking about his SSI. What should I be asking at this meeting? He is receiving SSDI benefits already, which will stop once he finishes school in May. Okay, so that last sentence that you added in, Angela, you need to speak to me personally about that, because there's some nuances when it comes to somebody who's already getting SSDI and them applying for SSI. So since your appointment is coming up soon, you feel free to email me or call me later and we'll set up an appointment for you to talk through your specific situation, okay? I already put my email in the chat box. So if you don't see it, I'll put it again. But Angela, specifically for you, call me or email me. We'll get together and discuss that. Kristen is hosting us today. She put a link for our YouTube channel on the chat. I'm going to make sure that that is shared so that everybody can see it. And and she's put my email. Thank you so much. All right, so let's jump into it. And hopefully, like I said, we'll get all your questions answered. I'm going to go back and forth and do some questions, some slides. Okay, so there are about 8 different programs that we're going to be really focusing on today. There are many more waiver programs in Texas, but these are the main ones that are Medicaid home and community-based waivers. There's CLASS, which is Community Living Assistance and Support Services. Deaf, blind with multiple disabilities is DBMD. Home and Community-Based Services is HCS. Texas Home Living. MDCP is Medically Dependent Children's Program. STAR Plus waiver, we usually just write star and a plus sign for that one. There's YES, which is Youth Empowerment Services. And then there's Community First Choice. So all of these waiver programs do have a wait list here in Texas. They vary based on who the program serves. So what you're going to see is a program like CLASS. That's the first one listed here. CLASS gives home and community-based supports to children and adults with related conditions. Now, there are over 200 different related conditions that they're talking about here. They're talking about, low IQ, an IQ under 70, or if you have an IQ under 75 plus another condition like cerebral palsy, spina bifida, it has to have this disability or this condition has to have occurred before age 22. So you do have to have proof that whatever disability it is started before age 22. But because CLASS serves children and adults with over 200 different related conditions, that's a very, very wide range of people. So you can understand and assume that the waiting list for CLASS is going to be very, very long because nearly everybody with any kind of intellectual or developmental disability can be served by the CLASS waiver. Now, DBMD is a little bit different. Well, it's a lot different. It only serves families who have a loved one who is deaf and blind and has another disability. Now, if your child has a disability that causes deafness and blindness, and they're on their way towards complete deafness and blindness, that might qualify for DBMD, and they have another condition. But as you can see, deaf and blind and another condition really narrows down who can apply for this waiver. So the list for DBMD is pretty short in comparison to one of the big ones like CLASS. HCS is typically regarded as like the Cadillac of waiver programs because they have the deepest pockets and they can provide the most services. And we're going to talk about what services these waiver programs provide for you. But home and community-based services is a really good one. Make sure you're on the list for that one. MDCP, again, a smaller waiting list because this is only for medically dependent children. If your child is not dependent upon some medical care, they're not medically fragile, they won't qualify for that waiver. Next, we have STAR Plus. STAR Plus is for those people who are medically dependent and over age 21. So if your child is receiving MDCP, the Medically Dependent Children's Program, that is specifically for children under age 21. Once they turn 21, they will be switched over to Star Plus, and they will be served by that program instead. It's not a very long list, again, because it's medically fragile only. Next is Texas Home Living. Again, a wide range of services to a wide range of people. It can help provide supports for people living in their own home or their family's home. Youth empowerment services. This one is a very short wait list. In some counties, there's not a wait at all for this. And this is for people who have mental, emotional, and behavioral difficulties as their primary diagnosis. So they might also be autistic, or they might also have ADHD or something like that. But this program, the YES program, is specifically for those children under age 19 who have serious behavioral, mental, and emotional difficulties. And then finally, community first choice. This helps the state provide support in the home or in community-based programs. They give attendance services, and they help, with work-related supports, health-related tasks, hands-on assistance, supervision, queuing, things like that. The wait list is not too long for this because it's a different kind of program. It's not necessary. It's an entitlement program. You're entitled to that program. So it's a little bit easier to get community first choice. So some of these services that you can get from these waiver programs, all of the waiver programs will help you pay for adaptive aids, financial management services like what we provide at Consolidated Planning Group, supported employment, employment assistance, minor home modifications. Now, I've learned through some of the webinars that we've done with service providers that those minor home modifications, that is, it's usually, I think she said $7,500 that you can use once. You can use $7,500. And since you can only use it once, you want to make sure that that's the home you're going to be staying in. You don't want to do minor home modifications to a rental property that you're not going to be living in, or, in a home that you're going to be moving out of. Okay, the waivers can also provide respite care. Now, in the blue circle, this is all of the waivers except MDCP. And the reason MDCP waiver doesn't give you these services is because they're already covered by Children's Medicaid, which you should also be getting if you can get MDCP. So those are things like therapies, professional therapies. It could be music, massage therapy, recreational therapy, occupational, speech, even equine therapy, which is horses, unlimited prescriptions. They provide $2,000 per year for dental care, and they can provide nursing hours. Some other great waiver services. Now, not all of the waiver programs will provide these, but some of them do. Transportation, residential services, again, equine therapy, day hab or ISS programs, and nursing hours. So there are a lot of great services. Even if you have to wait 20 years for these services, it is going to be very, very helpful when they come around. So please don't forget to get signed up for these waiver programs and get on their waiting lists. Let me go ahead and see a couple questions in the chat box, and then we're going to talk about the eligibility rules for these different waivers. Angela, I already asked you to get in touch with me. Can my son or daughter join the military if they're deaf but have cochlear implants? I have no idea about military eligibility. So if somebody else in the chat box does, please tag Lewis in your reply and let him know. Otherwise, Lewis, I would say, ask the military. And isn't there generally an ROTC program at schools and military liaisons in the high schools that you could probably contact the school and talk to about that? Is this for ADHD? ADHD does apply. It does count as a disability if it's severe enough. Now, there is something called the Social Security Blue Book. I'm going to put that in the chat right now. Social Security Blue Book. And if you just Google that, what it's going to do is it has a listing of all kinds of diagnoses, and you look up what your child has, and it will tell you what you need to show or what they need to be dealing with in order to be considered disabled under the eyes of Social Security. So you're going to look up ADHD, and it's going to say, okay, if your child has ADHD and they have this condition and they have this, and it affects them this way, then they would consider that as a disability under the eyes of Social Security. So all of you can go Google the Blue Book, Social Security Blue Book, look up the diagnoses that your child has, and see what exactly they need to be dealing with in order to be considered disabled by their criteria. How do we qualify for SSI and Medicaid if you're working or you make too much income? We're going to get to that. Special needs planning, yes. Okay, so when we're talking about people who recently came to the United States or parents who are not natural residents, that's okay. As long as your child has a Social Security number, they should be able to get benefits from the government. If your child has a Social Security number, they will get benefits. What's the difference between SSI and SSDI? We'll talk about. My email is already in the chat. YouTube channel in the chat. SSDI. Sorry, I don't speak Spanish. If there's someone else in the chat who does, feel free to help out with the questions of the people that do speak in the chat box. Unfortunately, I don't. So let's pause there. We're going to go back and talk about waiver eligibility. So most waivers, there's no age limit, except MDCP is for children under age 21. Yes is for under age 19, and Star Plus is over 21. For the waiver programs, it does not look at the parent's income, and your child's income has to be within 300% of the SSI benefit amount. So the total SSI benefit amount right now is $943 a month. 943 times 3 is $2,829. So if your child is earning more than $2,829 a month, they will not be eligible for waiver programs. Now, Texas Home Living has different rules. I don't think there is any financial eligibility rule for that, but they'll let you know if you qualify or not. And of course, you have to meet the functional eligibility criteria for the waiver you're applying for. For example, when I say MDCP is for medically dependent children, if your child is not a child, they're over age 21, or if they're not medically dependent, they're not going to be able to get that waiver, of course. Now, you can put anybody on the list to wait for these waiver programs because, like I said, the wait lists can be very, very long in Texas. When I first started this career about 4 years ago, we were told a 15 to 17 year wait list. Now we're being told 20 to 25 year wait list. So when you put the kid's name on the wait list, you should not have to prove anything. It's 20 years later when that name finally comes up is when you have to be able to prove that they meet the criteria for the wait list. So there are two different paths, funding paths for waivers and how they come about and how that happens. The first one is that waiting list, what I've already told you about. It is a statewide waiting list, first come, first serve. And the wait can be, like I said, as long as 20 to 25 years. Now, I have heard some rumblings that different counties might have more slots or be moving a little bit quicker than other counties. Because I've heard that some people might move from a county like Harris County, which is highly populated, out to West Texas where there's a lower population, and all of a sudden their number jumps up higher on the list. I'm not sure because I've always been told that this is a statewide first come, first serve list. So take that with a grain of salt. There is also another way that you can get the waivers, and that is through the Promoting Independence pathway. That is helping individuals not go into an institution. Like if there's a crisis in your family and you're thinking, I just can't handle this. I can't do it anymore. I'm going to have to put my child into a facility or a nursing home or something like that. In a crisis situation, they can help you out. And then if your loved one is already in some sort of state-run facility or nursing home, there's something that they can do called PASRR, pre-admission screening, that they do at the nursing home and the state institutions to try to help people get out. They don't want people to be in state-run facilities. They want them to be at home in their own communities. So that's why they have that pathway as well. And we're going to talk about those things. So I just moved here. My son is 16. He was on the wait list in the other state when he was really young, but now we've moved here. Now you need to get back on this wait list and you have to start over. I'm so sorry to tell you that. Even though he was on the wait list for 11 years in another state, wait lists for waivers are only state-based. Now, what I've heard is that, and this is not a political statement, this is not saying I agree with it or not, but what I have heard is that states that have legalized marijuana are taking the tax revenue from the sales of marijuana and using that to help fund care for these children. So the states that have legalized marijuana have very short or no waiting list at all. And that's neither here nor there. That's just one thing I've heard. So how do you get onto the waiting list? There are 3 things that you can do depending on your needs. So let's walk through this. First of all, for the waiting list for MDCP, CLAS, and DBMD, you're going to call that 1-877 number at the top of this page. Now, even if you know you won't qualify for medically dependent children or deaf, blind, and multiple disabilities, everyone on this call would qualify for CLAS. So everybody here needs to call that 877 phone number and get on that waiting list. Now, for home and community-based services, HCS, and that, like I said, that's the one that's like the Cadillac of waiver programs. For that one, Texas Home Living and Community First Choice, you're going to contact your local intellectual and developmental disability authority, your LIDA. Some people say LIDA, either one, whatever. Contact your LIDA. You can use this link. There's also a link that I put in the chat box that pulls up a search. Put in your county and it will tell you who your local authority is. Everybody here needs to do that because all of you, if you're here, if you have a child with a disability, you should be on your LIDA's wait list. And then finally, at the bottom of this page is the number for STAR Plus. And remember, that is for medically dependent children or not medically dependent children, medically dependent adults, age 21 and over for STAR Plus, okay? 21 and over for STAR Plus. So I'm going to leave this up here so that you can write down these phone numbers. This link will be clickable when you receive these slides later on today. Okay. Should we apply for STAR Plus now or wait until they're 21? Wait until they're closer to 21 because the STAR Plus list is short. So wait until they're 21 or getting close to 21. And should SSI benefits go direct deposit to the ABLE account? No, probably not, but we'll talk more about SSI and SSDI in a later slide. You can contact me. Sure, we'll get in touch with you. Or you can get in touch with us and schedule your free appointment with us. Share the links to get listed. Oh, hi, Como. I just talked to you yesterday. So you can go to this link. There's also something else coming up. So let me show you this. You can now go online and go to yourtexasbenefits.com, yourtexasbenefits.com. And this website, once you either log in or you create an account, it can tell you what waiting lists you are already on, because many people forget because the waiting list is so long. It can tell you what lists you're on and how long you have to wait. And I think you can even get on the waiting lists by going to this website. So go to yourtexasbenefits.com. And then once you get logged in, you're going to click Manage. That red circle didn't quite land in the right spot, but right there it says Manage. And then from the Manage tab, you're going to click Interest List Manager. You're going to go in there, click View Details, and it will tell you what it is. A page that looks like this. It tells you what interest lists you are on. It says you can join the interest lists from that website, and you can even see where on the list you are. Okay, so everybody needs to do that. And if you can join the interest lists from that, then you don't need to worry about calling those phone numbers and calling your LIDA. Just see where you are on the list that way. Isn't that cool? Your Texas benefits. I'm putting it in the chat box for you. .com, yourtexasbenefits.com. And I always think to myself, am I sure it's not .org? No, it's not .org, it's .com, mytexasbenefits.com. But again, if you log in and you don't see the waiver programs that you think you have applied for, you can still go back and call the 877 number or get in touch with your LIDA. Okay. So let's see. More questions and comments. Okay, we've got college career people. We've got just moved here. Should we apply for STAR Plus? Okay. I do copy the chat from these webinars, so I will be able to contact you if you put your contact information in the chat box, but it's really easiest for you to contact me. My email is in the chat already. It's mmorris@cpgcares.net, and we are going to show you a slide that talks about how to get in touch with us and make an appointment. So ABLE accounts, I see questions about the ABLE accounts. We're going to get into that. Unfortunately, I don't, the Spanish thing, Google how to get to the Blue Book. SSI. Okay. Let's talk about the other ways to get the waiver programs besides that huge long wait list. First of all, if your family is ever in a crisis situation, you can call your LIDA and tell them, and basically what they do is push you to the front of the line because you're in crisis. And this is not just a normal Tuesday crisis. This is like, if your child starts to deteriorate and they become a threat to themselves or others, or they're threatening to run away, or they do run away, or you lose your job, you and your family aren't working anymore, you can't afford to take care of your child, or someone else in your family becomes disabled and now you have to take care of them as well as your child. These are the kinds of things that they consider crisis. I've even heard situations where, a family simply cannot afford to take care of their loved one and they want to turn them over to a state-run facility. Those are the kinds of crises that we're talking about. Your local authority will help you with the process. You do have to stay involved and kind of be the squeaky wheel for your child. It's not just going to happen automatically. And this is not the time to be brave and to say like, oh, we've got this, we can handle this, we're going to put on a brave face. This is the time to be real and honest and tell them what's going on, and they can help you. The PASRR that I mentioned, pre-admission screening and resident review. This is when you're going into a facility or people who are already a resident of a facility. They're supposed to be going around and checking and promoting independence by testing people and making sure that they wouldn't be better served by being in their community. This part is a link that will take you to a website all about it if you have questions, if your loved one is already in a facility or something like that. So several things to get started when you're thinking about special needs planning. It is really, really, really advantageous to you to work with experts in the field. You have a support team and you should have financial advisors and special needs focused attorneys on your team. You've got professionals like doctors and speech therapists and psychiatrists or whatever you have. You need professionals to help you deal with the money and the benefits and the legal side of your situation. The special needs financial planner, we help you with the money and benefits side of things. And we can refer you to a special needs attorney who can help you with things like guardianship, your special needs trust, your will, things like that that are very, very important. You want to gather together all of the documentation of things that you already have in place, like the legal aspects, retirement benefits that you have, what benefits your children are already receiving. Kind of keep a list of those, keep track of it. You want to develop a letter of intent. Now, we've done entire webinars on the letter of intent, but briefly, this is a document that is kind of like a love letter to your family. You're writing all about your loved one with the thought in mind that if somebody needs to step in, if you pass away and you're not there to take care of your loved one, what are they going to need to know? What are their abilities? What are their diagnoses? Who are their doctors? What do they love and hate? What do you do if they're in meltdown mode to get them out of it? Or what would you do that would immediately cause the world to turn upside down so that people can know to avoid those things? Anything that you want somebody to know about, you put in that letter of intent. It is not a legally binding document. It's something that you can just do on your own. But I would suggest that you print it. Don't keep it hidden on your computer. Print out your letter of intent and put it in your binder if you have a binder with all of the other documentation for your child. and think about what you hope the future looks like for your loved one. Okay, so now we're going to get into some of the other things you guys have been asking about in the chat box: SSI, SSDI, ABLE accounts, all of that. Let's get into some of those things, because those are ways that are going to help fund your child's care in the future. So you want to preserve the eligibility for all of those state and federally funded programs. They have very, very low asset and income limits. So in general, your child cannot have more than $2,000 in a bank account with their name on it. They cannot make more than $1,550 a month for 2024. They cannot have more than one home or one car. And if your child is under 18, they look at the parent's assets and income. So if you as a parent, or parents, if you're married, have more than $1,550 of income per month, your child will not qualify for SSI until they turn 18. If you have more than $2,000 or $3,000 in the bank, depending on if you're married or not, your child will not be able to qualify for SSI until they're 18. So generally what we see is that children under the age of 18 do not qualify for SSI benefits. When your child turns 18 is when you should apply for SSI, and they can have money in a special needs trust or in an ABLE account. So what we want you to do is set it up so that you have a special needs trust for the benefit of your child. And things like your bank account, if it's a transfer on death, it will transfer to your child upon your death. Make sure that goes to their special needs trust. Your life insurance, your assets like your investments, all of that should go to the special needs trust for the benefit of your child. You can also have an ABLE account for your child. The ABLE account is more of a save to spend account. If your child's bank account that their SSI goes into and their work paycheck that is under $1,550 a month, their work paycheck goes into their bank account, and that bank account starts getting towards $2,000, what you can do is open an ABLE account, and you're going to take money from their bank account and transfer it into the ABLE to prevent their bank account from going over $2,000. That way they won't lose their benefits. For 2024, you can put $18,000 into that ABLE account. But listen closely, you never want that ABLE account to go above $100,000 total. If it goes above $100,000 total, then your child will lose SSI and Medicaid. So yes, SSI does come with Medicaid. So when your child turns 18, you apply for SSI. It comes with Medicaid. And we've done entire webinars that focus on SSI and SSDI and Medicaid and those things. So if I don't hit on your question, feel free to ask or visit one of our other webinars. Now, basically how it works is that your child will be on SSI and Medicaid for several years until you as a parent turn on your Social Security disability benefits or retirement benefits when you are ideally in your late 60s. So your kids should go on a few years with SSI and Medicaid. And then you turn on your retirement from Social Security, your child will go off of SSI and onto SSDI. They will keep Medicaid and they will be eligible for Medicare after they've been on SSDI for 2 years. Again, I'm happy to answer questions about that. We do have a full webinar about it as well, though. So let's get a couple more questions before we hit the next stuff. My daughter has an IEP and has long-term retrieval. I'm not sure what that is. Will this qualify for her for services? I'm looking into applying for SSI and I'm not sure if she'll get approved. So that would be a case where you look at that Social Security Blue Book, look up her diagnoses to see if she qualifies. And Kristen, you are so kind to put the link in the chat box for that Blue Book. Thank you. My son is 6 years. I want to apply for Medicaid, SSI, housing caregivers. We are parents on a B2 visa. So if your son has a Social Security number, you can apply. However, if you are making more than $1,550 a month, your child will not qualify for SSI benefits because you make too much money. Our adult child is making less than $28.29 per month. They're eligible for SSI. The $28.29 per month number is the income limit for Medicaid waivers. $2,829 per month is the income limit for the waiver programs. $1,550 per month is the income limit for SSI. Okay, I hope you got that. My son. Okay, when you can apply for Medicaid for your child, there are different programs like the Medicaid buy-in program. But like I said, when your child turns 18 and gets SSI, they will automatically get Medicaid with that as well. Repost my email. Thank you, Mindy, for reposting my email. I just joined the meeting. Yes, it is all recorded. You'll receive the link later on. My 6-year-old daughter was kicked out of Medicaid based on income. Yeah, a lot of people went through that last year because with COVID, they were covering a lot more people. And some of the income guidelines were kind of set aside during COVID. But now that has expired. And many children are getting Medicaid turned off now because those special rules have expired. So you're probably going to have to either pay for Medicaid through the buy-in program or wait until she's 18 and gets that back. A social worker put her name on the waiting list for something, hopefully the Texas waiver programs, and later on she'll get that. Okay. If the adult child income is deposited into a first-party special needs trust, their income will not count against them, right? It depends what kind of income we're talking about. So if your child is receiving child support after age 18, that counts as income towards your child. And that is one place that the first party special needs trust really comes in handy, is for things like if there's a settlement, like your child became disabled because of an accident and they receive a settlement and it pays to them, that needs to go to the first party special needs trust. First party is because it is your child's own money. The other thing that would be your child's own money could be income from work, or it could be child support. So child support will be counted as income if they get that beyond age 18. So that needs to go into their first party trust. Now, if your child is working and earning income, you can't skip that rule. Earned income counts. Even if it does go into a first party special needs trust, they're not going to let you get away with that. So don't try to, it's not going to be successful to try to hide money by putting it straight into the first party trust. That won't work. Okay, other questions. IQ of 76. Yes, my son was evaluated with an IQ of 76, which is just barely above what they consider the limits. You can try again to have him evaluated again. put him on the list anyway, because you don't have to prove that he qualifies until his name comes up. But you never know. Maybe he was having a great testing day that day, and maybe next time he tests, he'll qualify. It just depends. Please give your WhatsApp. Unfortunately, I do not have WhatsApp, but you can contact me and we can set up a Zoom meeting with you so that we can meet and go through all of your questions. Okay. Log your child in on that Your Texas Benefits website. You can only have one waiver program at a time. So first of all, what I said is log your child on the website yourtexasbenefits.com, because that's their benefits, and you're applying for benefits for them. And then you can only have one waiver program at a time. So sometimes what we see is your name might come up for class first. Great, get on the class waiver, and then keep your name on the other waiver programs. And once you come up for another one, look at what you have versus what they offer and determine if you want to move on to the other one. It's not a problem, but you can only be receiving one at a time. If your child works during high school, they might be able to receive their own SSDI or your SSDI. It depends how much they earned, and it depends how much they worked. So that is more of a specific question that I can't answer without knowing a lot more details. So I know I just met with you yesterday, but if you do a plan with us, I would be able to dig into your child's Social Security and figure that out for you. Okay, let's get through the rest of the slides, and then we have more messages, more chat box questions to get to. We know it keeps you awake thinking about who is going to take care of your child when you're not here anymore. That's why we say the best time to start planning for their future is right now. And it doesn't matter if they're an infant or if they're in middle school or high school or they're an adult. Now is the time to start planning, because the earlier you start, the more of an impact that you can have on the financial outcomes for your family. We want you to think about the future after high school. There are 18 plus programs where your child can stay at the high school until about age 21 or 22. But beyond that, there are great residential options, communities where your child can go live and work. There are vocational options and programs that help them train for and find employment. And there are educational options, programs at different colleges all over where they offer supports and mentorship and patience and guidance for students like yours. Your child can go to college without having a full college schedule like some children, and they can go to college without going and living on campus, and they can go to college with support and mentorship that is going to be there to help them. And we always say this, but just think carefully, very carefully, before you say, oh, my child's older sister is just going to take care of him when they get older. Well, first of all, older sister, we'll call her Sarah. Sarah might already have her own family, her own career. She might even have her own special needs child to be dealing with and to be thinking about. And taking on your child, in addition to her own life and her own things that she has going on, might create a little bit of a feeling of obligation, that she is obligated to do this rather than wanting to do this. Maybe she doesn't want to, maybe she's not willing to, maybe she's not able to, maybe she's disabled in the future. You don't know what the future holds for Sarah. So please don't just assume that you're going to put that responsibility on her. Now, the opposite is true as well, because maybe Sarah's little brother, Jacob, I use Jacob because that's my son's name. Maybe Jacob might feel resentment towards his sister, who is all of a sudden stepping into the role of caregiver. And Jacob might think, you're my sister, you're not my mother. You can't control me, you can't tell me what to do. And it would create a resentment there. So just be very, very careful if you're thinking about that situation in the future, okay? Things that we always say to keep on your radar and webinars that we do all the time. Focus on the waiver programs, SSI versus SSDI, ABLE accounts and beneficiaries, the special needs trust, residential communities. We do webinars 2 or 3, sometimes even more times a week. And it's either me or Allison presenting, but this link will take you to all of our upcoming webinars where you can register. And that way, if you miss the webinar, you'll still get the email sent to you afterwards that includes the link to the recording and the slides. This is our entire team. Again, we are located in Sugar Land, just outside of Houston, but we work all across the United States. So anyone that you know of that has a child with any kind of intellectual or developmental disability, we can help. Just let your friends and family know about us. We love it when you spread the word, share our information, share our webinars. And then finally, I'm going to leave this up while we get through the rest of your questions, because this QR code will take you to our calendar where you can schedule your free consultation with us. This is on Zoom. It usually takes between 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how much we're chit-chatting and how much we're talking. But our goal for this consultation is to answer whatever questions you have left over. We will then, once we learn about you and your family and we answer your questions, we're going to talk about consolidated planning group, the planning packages that we offer, the fees that we charge and how that all works. But our primary focus in this consultation on Zoom is to answer your questions. And whether you work with us or not, it is completely free for you. So use the QR code to schedule, or if that's not your thing, you can contact me or you can contact the office to get that scheduled. This also has our links for the YouTube channel, Instagram, our podcast, and our Facebook page. So like I said, I'm going to leave this up. We do reach out to everybody who registers for these to try to get you to schedule an appointment. So please just be kind, and just all you have to do is say, no, thank you. I don't want to schedule a consultation, and we won't be bothering you anymore. Okay, so let's get to the chat. If the child 18 and over, still living with parents, would the parents' income be used? No. If the child is over age 18, they do not look at the parents' income or assets anymore. They only look at the child's income and assets after age 18. Medicaid comes automatically if your child is approved for SSI. Later in life, when your child gets approved for SSDI, which is based on a parent's work record, when the parent turns on their Social Security, after you're on SSDI for 2 years, you'll become eligible for Medicare as well. An attorney told me to handwrite wishes, not to type them on a computer because they're not legally binding unless handwritten. Susan, that might be for a will or something like that. But what we're talking about, the letter of intent, is not a legally binding document anyway. It's just telling somebody how to take care of your family. It's not legally binding. It does not have to be reviewed or notarized or anything like that. Is there a look back period on contributions to ABLE accounts? Can you move it basically last minute so that they qualify, or does it have to be gradually? It can be last minute. They don't really look back too much, Robert, but what you do want to remember is that only $18,000 can be moved into the ABLE account this year. So if there's $40,000 in your child's 529 college savings plan, maybe, and you're realizing that your child possibly won't go to college, you can roll over the money from their 529 college plan, which is only for college and educational purposes. Roll that over to their ABLE plan where you can use that money for anything they need, but only $18,000 this year. And then you can roll over more next year. How do we qualify for Medicaid if our income is over the limit? There are different programs, Desiree, like a Medicaid buy-in program. Google that and maybe you can apply for that one. You do not have to wait until 18 years old to open an ABLE account or a special needs trust. You can do that ahead of time. I'm trying to go quickly to get as many of these questions as I can because I know we're out of time. Will all child qualify for SSI as long as they have a special needs trust and ABLE account? No, because they might not be, and I hate to say this, but they might not be disabled enough. If they're not qualified as disabled under the eyes of Social Security, they will not qualify. For the benefit of your child, your life insurance, your 401k, pensions, any money that you want to leave to your child should go to the third party special needs trust. That will make sure that they're still able to qualify for all of their benefits. And it does not have a Medicaid payback clause with the third party trust. I explained this very thoroughly in our webinar called Government Benefits 101. So if you go to our YouTube channel, look for Government Benefits 101. We get into those a little deeper. And again, if you call, set up your appointment with us, we will walk you through all of those questions. Which state is which states are best to get benefits? I hear Arizona, Colorado, California are great states in terms of benefits. Now you have to balance that with their cost of living. They might have a higher cost of living, which could be prohibitive for your family. Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate all of you for being here and sticking with me. We do have lists of residential communities and college opportunities. We do webinars about those. Look at our YouTube channel. If you relocate with SSI, that should not matter because SSI is a federal program. Leave it alone. Even if you move, it should be okay. And I'm trying to scroll through. Yep, that's it. Okay. Thank you all so much for sticking with me. Reach out to me personally if you have any questions, or you can, again, call or email the office. Use our QR code. I hope I see a bunch of appointments coming through. If you would like to schedule directly with me, my email, mmorris@cpgcares is the place to go, and I will personally schedule you with an appointment. And that's it for today. Everybody have a great day. Go kick behind this week and reach out to us if you have any further questions. Thank you again. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.